The reason it's so important to be near the top of search results is because that's where the vast majority of sales happen on eBay. And so I paid eBay $859 extra to make $46,000 more that year. Welcome back to my weekly show where I talk about the ups and downs and in-betweens of selling on eBay. I found some pretty cool stuff at garage sales this past weekend. Let's take a look. First up is this RCA television, not quite vintage, from 2005. It's very rare to find these things brand new in the box. Super cool, good for retro gaming. I paid $20 and I would expect to get about $300 for this one. This is a pair of men's Sorel boots. I paid $4 for these at a garage sale. Haven't comped them out. I would guess they're worth about $25 to $30. And this men's Carhartt vest was a no-brainer at $1 at a garage sale. Can't believe that price. And just a standard Patagonia hoodie, size small, paid $2 at a garage sale. Also a nice find here. This is a vintage Levi's acid wash jacket. It's a women's size medium, but there's no tag on there, so I'm guessing just based on the measurements that it's a medium. But really cool piece here, a little bit dirty. Also paid $5 for a small collection of PC games here. I really like buying and selling PC games like this from the 90s. None of these are going to make a ton of money, but I just think it's fun. I like this category of things. But are you familiar with any of these games? Let me know in the comments below. I didn't recognize any of them, to be honest, but still bought them. Think they're pretty cool. They should sell quickly. Finally, I bought another lot of jeans, men's jeans. These are 527s, all 34 by 30. There's 7 pairs in here. Paid $5 each, so $35 in total. I'll probably blot these up into 1 or 2 lots, maybe 3 lots, and sell them like that, but should make some decent money. But just weird to find another lot like this. I bought one just like this like 3 weeks ago in a different size. But Chicharan asks, have you ever thought of what would happen if everything in your store sold in 24 hours, and how long do you think it would take to fulfill all the shipping requirements? Would you have enough supplies? Do you know where everything is? Would you be able to meet the time limit you gave yourself with eBay for turn time? Would your post office be able to handle it all? Are you offering? Is this a threat? Are you going to buy everything in my store? Bring it on. I'll figure it out. I promise you. But no, really, I don't know. That's a good question. I have about 1,100 items in stock. About 50% of those are clothing that is already in poly bags. And so those would be good to go. I would not have any problem fulfilling those orders. Everything else is going to require a box. It definitely would be problematic. I do have quite a bit of boxes in stock, but I don't think I would have enough. So that would be problem number 1, is figuring out how to box all this stuff up and ship it off. Doing it in the amount of time allotted would be difficult because I do have 1-day shipping. So if you buy something today, right now, I would be shipping it out tomorrow. That would be challenging if with 1,100 things. My wife does the shipping, so I would have to jump in there and help her. What else? Would you have enough supplies? Do you know where everything is? Yeah, I know where everything is. Everything's organized well. So finding stuff would not be an issue. The post office would definitely be able to handle it all. Sometimes I have so much stuff going to the post office that I have to park in back and, back my car up to the loading dock and actually get one of those bins and unload it all into there and take it in. And so they can handle that for sure. That wouldn't be an issue, but it's an interesting idea. If you want to challenge it, bring it on. Buy everything in my store. I'll even film it for a video. So there you go. My brother asks, when you buy cameras, do you go buy film and batteries to test them, huh? Well, Scott, you could have just called me, but I guess I'll answer it here on this YouTube channel. So when I buy old film cameras, I do not film test them. I do sometimes battery test them, so that's if they take a normal battery like a AA or AAA or something like that, then I'll battery test it as well. If they take a special battery, it depends on the value of the camera. If I stand to make a good chunk of money, I will just buy the specialty battery. That way I can test it and sell it with a new battery, but I never film test it. And I just note that in the description or in the title or somewhere on the listing that it has been tested, but not film tested. So I'll say like battery tested, not film tested. So you do run a little bit of a risk of it not working, but that's also why I offer free returns. Is it allows me to invest less time into the testing process, letting the buyers know that if they do buy it and it doesn't work out, then they can send it back at no cost to them. But the choice then becomes really on the buyer. Do they want to take a chance on an unfilm tested camera? Usually I'm going to lower the price slightly below ones that are film tested. So they're going to get a little bit of a better deal, but they're going to run a risk of it potentially not working. But with the free refunds, I think it works out. So that's what I do, Scott. Thanks for emailing me. Why don't you call me next time? Sam Girl asks, how do you know to sell sell the Sega Genesis box by itself. I never would have thought to do that. Was it just a what the heck, I'll list it feeling? Yeah, so Sam's referring to, I don't know, this is a video, well, a pretty old video of mine where I sold a Sega Genesis and a Sega Genesis box. What ended up happening is I bought a Sega Genesis that was in the box, and when I got it home, I realized that the Sega Genesis in the box was not the same as the one on the box. I'm not sure why, but it just was a different model. So I sold the Sega Genesis, and I just knew that the box would also be valuable because video game collectors often want the actual box for the console that they may already have to sort of put a complete set together. And the box was in pretty good condition. I think it sold for more money actually than the actual Sega Genesis console that I sold separately. So, but I've had other scenarios where I just do kind of what you say, where I'm like, might as well check, might as well list it. The one I can remember more recently is that I had bought a big tub full of remote control cars, and in that tub of remote control cars were two of these little torpedoes that you kind of, like a pool toy torpedo. And I was like, literally throwing it in the trash. And I said, wait, I'll just look it up really quick. And I checked, and it turns out that they were actually pretty valuable because they don't make these things anymore. And so, yeah, always look things up. You never know what's going to have value. All right, let's jump into my sales for the week. It was not a very good week at all. By the way, I'm going to be answering other viewer questions sprinkled throughout those top 10 sales. And if you have a question for me, just leave it in the comment section below and I will answer it in a future video. Also, in the description, you'll find time codes that allow you to jump to all the different questions that are being asked in today's video. Check this out, $383 in gross income and $169 in net income for the week. Wow, I have not had a week that low in a very long time. And actually, look at this, 2 days, Friday and Saturday of this week, 0 sales. This is the first time in a very long time that I've gone consecutive days without a sale. Sometimes I have a day without any sales, but 2 in a row like that, I don't remember the last time that that's happened. Now, I was also out of town. I was doing no listing during that time. Check this out. See, no listing at all during that time. So that's part of the reason, but still, wow, 1,100 items in stock and no sales over 2 days. That is pretty bad. Another helicopter going by here. Why? I feel like helicopters are going by here all the time. So it's just very, very slow on eBay right now. I only listed 27 new things, 16 sales. My top 10 sales of the week are pretty boring, I gotta say. But hey, it's realistic. If nothing else, you can't say that I'm being unrealistic here. Here's a realistic view into eBay. Sometimes you just have really slow times. This is one of those times for me. So let's jump into those top 10 sales. Coming in at number 10 is this Skims Rhinestone. This is a skirt. Wow. I think it just goes over like a swimming suit is what happens. But this is the Skims brand. This is Kim Kardashian's brand. Regular viewers of the channel will notice that a few weeks ago, I bought a big lot of about 450 pieces of Skims clothing, new with tags. This stuff is slowly starting to trickle out. That stuff is all kind of weird sizes. This one sold for $19.95. Free shipping. My net return was $9.30. Took 17 days to sell for the 10th best flip of the week. Coming in at number 9 is this vintage St. Louis Blues travel cup. I got this in a direct buy about a year ago. It sold for $10 plus $9.99 in shipping. The net return was $9.86 for the 9th best flip of the week. Well, nothing else to say about this. It's a mug from the 90s. Taylor asks, I had a buyer leave negative feedback that an item I sent didn't work upon arrival. It was a Disney ornament new in box that played It's a Small World. Well, if you didn't have It's a Small World stuck in your head again, you do again, now, again. It worked when I listed and sent it. However, the buyer didn't message me about it or ask for a refund or return. Should I leave it be or reach out to them asking if they'd like a refund? Not in exchange for a better review, just to right the situation. Part of me just wants to leave it be since they didn't reach out about it or take action beyond leaving feedback. Yeah, that sort of sucks. Sometimes you do get a negative feedback just out of nowhere where the buyer didn't even attempt to resolve the situation or ask for a refund or say anything. They just leave the negative feedback and go on. And not a whole lot you can do there. If you go to eBay and try to get it removed, they're probably not going to remove it because it is legitimate feedback. You can reach out to the buyer through eBay's system to ask for a feedback request. In my experience, I don't think I've ever had anyone change their feedback based on me sending a request. So your mileage may vary. Give it a shot. It might as well. I would just leave this be. One negative feedback here and there is just not going to hurt your business. I sit at like 98 or 99%. I stopped trying to get negative feedback removed a long time ago. You just can't make certain people happy. Sunset Patio Restoration asks, I'm new to eBay and watch you almost nightly. Well, thank you. I consider your page continuing education in my work of growing a new business. My question is, I cannot find the seller's hub as it shows in your videos. So when I want to research an item, I cannot access access the sales and sell-through rates and additional info, or none of the charts. I found directions to get there, but when I click the accounting sends the directions. So yeah, I think what may be happening is the Seller Hub does not work for sellers until you've had at least one sale. So have you had a sale? If you have not had a sale yet, wait till you get your first sale, then go through those instructions and you'll be able to access the Seller Hub. But if you haven't had a sale yet, you'll just have to wait until you get that first sale, then you'll be able to get the Seller Hub. Coming in at number 8 is this Ape Case expandable camera case. I got this at a Savers about 3 months ago. I paid $5.60. It sold in 3 months for $26.12. The net return for the eighth best flip of the week was $10.20. Saw this on the rack there at Savers and had never heard of the brand before, but it looked nice. It looked kind of like a specialty brand. I looked it up and it had some decent value, so I went ahead and bought it. Coming in at number 7 of these Lululemon leggings. I bought these at a garage sale 2 months ago for $2. They sold for $23.49 with a net return of $13.19. 660% ROI on that. The picture, not very good picture. That's probably why it took a little bit longer to sell. Lululemon stuff sells very quickly for me usually, but there's a lot of competition, so it can be hard to stick out. It's a good one to run promoted listings on for sure because there's so much competition, but 2 months, not too bad. Probably would have done better with a better picture. Hey Bryn asks, my question to you is we also enjoy international shipping where there's no problem when people want to return items. I was just wondering when an item is returned, it doesn't go back to the seller. I've had a couple items be returned, but I never got those items. Do you know what happens to those items? It's a good question. I don't exactly know what happens to those items. What this viewer is referring to is the international shipping program. When you sell something through that program, so you sell it internationally through eBay, you send the item to eBay's warehouse and eBay then sends it off to the end buyer for you. And there's no returns on that program. So if the end buyer wants to return it, they can, but it doesn't come out of your fees as the seller, which is pretty cool, but you also don't get the item back. Where the item goes is a good question. I've heard some theories. I've read stories of people who sell more unique items through the international shipping program that have got returned that they see then pop up on eBay later, which suggests that eBay might be doing something similar to Amazon, which is collecting all those returns and perhaps auctioning off pallets of them. It'd be kind of cool to buy a pallet of eBay international shipping returns. I bet there's a lot of broken stuff, honestly, but it would be an interesting pallet to go through. So that's what I think happens. I don't know for sure. That's my guess. Coming in at number 6 is this New at Tags men's Argentina Adidas Soccer World Cup shirt. It took 26 days to sell for $26.98. I paid $5 at a garage sale, and the net return is $13.30 for a 266% ROI on that. Kind of a cool shirt, not a jersey, just a regular t-shirt, so not super valuable, but it did sell in 26 days, so not bad. Coming in at number 5 this week is this Zoom H1 digital recorder. I got this at a garage sale. I paid up at $20, which in retrospect was a little bit more than I should have paid for it. I thought it was going to comp out in the $60 to $70 range. Turned out it was only worth about $45 in used condition. Of course, the person at the garage sale said it was new, which I, shouldn't have trusted it. And of course, it just wasn't new. It had been used. There was batteries in it. So I just don't understand what compels people to say things are new when they're not. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they have just a loose definition of what new means. I don't know. Definitely not new in the eBay world. Couldn't sell it as new, had to sell it as used. It did take 3 days to sell, so it was a fast turnaround for $15.34 and the 5th best flip of the week. Jane asks, probably an amateur question here, but I'm still learning how to check comps. So far, I only have 72 items in my store with about 27 sold. I've looked up much more than those 94 items, and I've yet to find something with an over 50% sell-through rate. Looking up items in the store can get a little frustrating when you don't know exactly what the item is. I just want to know, is this common for beginners or am I doing something wrong? I don't think you're doing anything wrong at all. Very common, especially if you're new on eBay, to kind of have trouble looking up the value of items on eBay or checking the sell-through rate. So don't worry, you'll figure it out with time. When it comes to sell-through rate, what I like to promote is not an exact formula. The truth is, it's really difficult to get an exact sell-through rate for items on eBay for a lot of different reasons. The biggest reason is what you mentioned. It's hard to identify the exact item. And when you do identify the exact item, it's hard to get a list of search results that match exactly that item because of the way eBay search works. And so if you can't get an exact list of only items of what you're looking up, both active and sold, it's going to be impossible to get an exact sell-through rate. And besides, it's just unnecessary. I don't recommend you do the math in your head and make sure you're completely accurate. It's just unnecessary for selling on eBay. Instead, what you want to do is just get a feel for the sell-through rate. So when I say get a feel for the sell-through rate, what I mean is just do your search, try to get as accurate of a list of search results as you can get, be specific. And then note how many active listings there are. Let's say there's 50, and then note how many sold listings there are. And let's say there's 5. Like, that's not a very good sell-through rate. There's 50 active, there's 50 competitors out there, and over the last 90 days, only 5 have sold. Not a very good sell-through rate. But if there was 500 sold, that would be a very good sell-through rate. Usually it's not that black and white. It's a little bit more difficult to figure out whether this is something worth it to buy for resale or not. But that's where experience comes in. That's where just doing this over and over again helps. Go around your house, look stuff up, check the active, check the sold, start to get a feel for that sell-through rate. Don't worry about formulas. Just keep that in your head that eBay search history goes back 90 days. And so when you're searching for sold comps, that's how many items have sold in the last 90 days. And so if 90 have sold in the last 90 days, that means one buyer comes by every day to buy something. If there's 900 competitors, that's going to take a long time. If there's 9 competitors, it's going to sell very quickly. You'll just start to get a feel of it, and you don't have to do a whole lot of math in your head. Coming in at number 4 is this vintage Boeing t-shirt. This one sold for $27.04. It took 5 months to sell. Where did I get it? I got it at St. Vincent de Paul, only $1.65 purchase price, and a net return of $15.40 for the 4th best flip of the week. Wow, we're already at the 4th best flip of the week, and I'm only making $15. That's how you know it's a slow week. There were no big sales this week. Nothing super exciting. Sorry about that. Coming in at number 3 is this vintage ashtray that I've had for over a year. Got it off Facebook Marketplace for $1, probably a part of a big lot. I didn't buy this one off for $1 on Facebook Marketplace, but it sold for $26.98. Net return of $16.21 for the 3rd best flip of the week. Good ROI, shitty net return. God, this is boring. Michelle asks, I noticed that the promoted listing recommended percentage has gone up quite a bit. Am I doing something wrong, or have they raised the rates? Thanks, Michelle. I don't think you're doing anything wrong. They might have raised the rates. I'm not really sure. Those suggested rates, though, on eBay for promoted listings are configurable. You don't have to select them. You don't have to use them. You can change them to whatever you want. Well, not whatever you want. It has to be at least 2%. That's the minimum promoted listing rate that you can use. It used to be 1%, but about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, they changed it to 2%. And so it doesn't really matter what eBay recommends that you promote your listings at. You can change it to whatever you want it to be. Personally, I do everything at 2% because it's the lowest. I'll use this opportunity to talk a little bit more about promoted listings. I'm a big fan of promoted listings on eBay. To me, it is a no-brainer to use them. In fact, when I first started using them, when I turned them on, almost overnight, the amount of items that I was selling per day doubled. In fact, that next year, I spent only $859 on promoted listing fees at 2% for everything. And I turned that into an additional $46,000 of sales in 1 year just by doing that. And so I paid eBay $859 extra to make $46,000 more that year. It's sort of crazy how good promoted listings are for increasing sales. So if you're not promoting your listings right now, I'm going to heavily recommend that you do, because it is a no-brainer. I mean, for me, it just changed my business overnight. But to have an impact, you don't need to use those recommended rates. They're, in fact, way too high. I have no idea how eBay calculates those rates. They seem wildly high for everything. I think it's dependent on what you're selling and in what category and how much competition there is in that category, and all sorts of hidden variables for them to decide how much they're going to suggest you promote at. But it doesn't matter. You can just ignore it. You can promote everything at a flat percentage. I pick 2%. Some people pick 3%. Some people, you can pick whatever you want. And when you promote your listings like this, all that means is it's going to send your listings to the top of search results when someone searches for that term, based on the percentage that you use. The higher the percentage, the more often they're going to show your listing at the top. And the reason it's so important to be near the top of search results is because that's where the vast majority of sales happen on eBay. When people search for something, they get a list of results, and more often than not, they're going to pick something in the first handful of results there, just like Google. You know, that's why everyone wants to be in the top spot on Google, because most everyone clicks on the top few spots. Very rarely do people go to page 2 or 3 or 4. Same goes for eBay. That's why promoted listings work so well, is because it's a way to just skyrocket your listings straight up to the top. And it's money well spent. Like I said, $859 is what I spent for 1 year, and I got an additional $46,000 of sales in that same year from promoted listings. Would some of those items have sold without being promoted? Yes, for sure, but not as quickly. The way I justify using promoted listings at 2% is, let's say I'm selling something for $100 and somebody offers me $98. Would I take that deal? Like, almost always, yes, I'm going to take that deal at 2% off. It's the same thing when you promote your listings, except you're paying paying that $2 to eBay, not giving the buyer a discount. So would you take 2% off of your sale price to sell things much quicker? You can decide that. For me, it's a no-brainer. I also hear people saying like, well, if everyone promotes, then nobody promotes. And I get that in theory, but that's just not the case. In the grand scheme of things, very few sellers actually promote stuff. Even if everyone did promote everything that they list, they're not promoting those at 100%. They're promoting it at a very small fraction of that. And so the idea that eBay is going to be filled with nothing but promoted listings and therefore ruin the value of having promoted listings in the first place is just not going to happen. There are some times when you don't want to do promoted listings where it doesn't make sense to pay extra. And that's if the item you're selling has no demand. So if there's nobody out there who wants this item, no amount of promoting is going to create people who want that item. And so it makes no sense to promote those items. In fact, it makes no sense to sell those items in the first place. So it's kind of a moot point. But if your item has no demand, no amount of promoting it is going to create demand and make it sell. So set your expectations accordingly. The other times when you don't want to promote is if what you're selling has very little competition. So again, when you promote your listings, it's a way to get those listings to show up at the top of search results. If what you're selling is super unique and has very little competition, there's no need to promote it, because if someone searches for it, yours is the only one that is going to show when they search for it. So there's no need to pay to get it to show at the top of search results. So if you sell rare, unique, one-of-a-kind items, or items that have like less than 5 active competitors, I would not necessarily recommend you pay to promote it, because there's not much of a need to cut through the noise and get yours to show up on top. In at number 2 is this Pampered Chef stoneware deep dish pie plate. It took 4 months to sell, $1 at a garage sale. $34.98 for the second best flip of the week, $17.75 net return on that. Pampered Chef, a lot of the stuff does really well if it is this stoneware stuff, the baking stuff. If it's in good condition, definitely. Even stuff that's been used, clearly used and had some scuffs on it, does pretty well too. I almost always pick up stoneware Pampered Chef stuff. There's other Pampered Chef stuff that doesn't do as well, like the little kitchen gadgets can be hit or miss, but the stoneware stuff is typically pretty good. $24.99 plus $9.99 in shipping, $17.75 for the net return of the second best flip of the week. That leaves us with number 1 here, this Wii Mario and Sonic at the Olympics Summer Game collection of 3 different games here. I got it at a Salvation Army for $12. I can't remember exactly what the situation was. I'm guessing they were just all right in a row and they were $4 each. That's my guess. I don't remember exactly, but they sold for $43.78 and a net return of $21.21 for the best flip of the week. That is crazy. My best flip of the week was only a net return of $21.21. What a boring week. Hopefully next week is better. All right. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, YouTube thinks you might like this other video of mine, so check it out.